What's up, everybody? I'm Coach Kristy Rose. Welcome back to Not Foxy Boxing. Today we have another special guest in the house. This is Suzana Rodriguez Griffin, and look at this. Boom!
You are.
Gave me a shirt last time we trained together. So Suzana and I have known each other for a minute. She is also an Indianapolis native. Well, I don't know if you're a native, but she lives here in Indianapolis. So Indiana, represent. Boxing world. A little bit about her. She's been in the fight world for a minute. I was looking up your stats today. I didn't realize how long you were an amateur fighter, and her first amateur fight was way back in 2008. So 26 years you've been in the fight game in some capacity. She's been a personal trainer for 10 years. She just started her professional career around the age of 40. Girl. So she has five wins, 10 losses as an amateur. But in that time, she took first place in 2009 as the women's national Golden Gloves champion. Boom. Also took second place in the International Ringside Show. Also won the Indiana Best Female Fight Award. Turned pro about 2 years ago. And in between that time, she's accomplished a lot of things. She's got a master's degree. She got into bodybuilding, has a media productions company, also has secured her own gym, which you can see behind her, SRG boxing team. She's been in physique competitions. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Third place at the NPC Indiana show. And she's also licensed through the Indiana Boxing Commission as a boxing promoter. So she's training kids. She's ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, certified as a trainer, which I am also ACSM. Kudos to that. It's one of the hardest certifications you can get in the fitness world. So she's got a lot going on, and we've had opportunities to train together a couple of times. Tough girl. Like I said, she's still an active professional fighter. She got a fight coming up September 21st.
Yep.
21. So hopefully a little promotion for Suzana here. But yeah, we put out this message about, doing this video series about just talking to real fighters. And I wanted to kind of start with some of us women, since women had a lot of controversy in the Olympics this year. And, trying to hopefully get our voices heard to the International Boxing Committee on why it's so important to keep Olympics in the boxing, not just for women, but also for men, because as we know now, they're still in contention, making the decision about keeping in the Olympics for 2028. So when you saw the message, you were one of the first people to respond also about doing an interview. What was your reasoning? What kind of inspired you to want to talk about this and do this interview today?
I said yes because it was an honor to be a part of your group of women that you had reached out to. Many of those, including yourself, I looked up to when I first started getting into boxing. Some of you guys, I attended your show. I don't know if you know that or not. I saw you fight once before. Mary McGee was another one on that bracket that I had seen. It's just an honor to be a part of. I've been in boxing for a while. I just never have the opportunity necessarily to network, right? There are many of us and yet so few of us. And so I wanted to participate in this because I too have been in this for a while. I've seen different variations of the fight game in various stages of my life. In college, when you're young and anything goes, to becoming a married person where some things I can't go to becoming a mom, a business owner, a multi-business owner. And so different variations create different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Mary McGee. We're actually going to do this interview on Thursday, so I'm super excited to talk to her too. And I told Mary, you better be good, but there's gonna be no censoring this. She's a character too. So I think your perspective as a coach and a woman who really, as a professional, boxing fitness has really been kind of like your catalyst in who you are today. So I want to talk about that. eventually. But tell us a little bit about your why on why you wanted to start, how you started boxing, what got you into the amateurs, and what's keeping you in boxing now as a 40-year-old professional still in this fight game.
Yeah, so I started boxing. I wanted to box my freshman year in college. I went to college at the University of Southern Indiana in Evansville. At that time, I had a boyfriend who was like, no, don't go to the boxing gym. There's a lot of thugs and it's drugs. Don't go. Okay, so after my freshman year, we broke up. I got a tattoo and I went to the boxing gym. And I loved it. Technically, the first boxing gym I attended, I didn't like it too much because I was a girl. They treated me like nothing,
Oh,
right? Hit this bag for a second. I'll be back. But what the hell am I doing? I don't know. Just straight punches,
yep.
miscellaneous stuff. And he left and he didn't come back for a while. Long story short, I met another guy because I was young, so I was dancing in the clubs, and I met this guy who said, "Hey, my dad owns a gym." That ended up becoming my forever coach, Danny Thomas, at Rock'em Sock'em Boxing in Evansville. Went in, I loved it. I just fell in love with the sport because it's not just something that you can just jump in and jump out. I'll see you in 2 weeks. It takes a daily task of action to get better, right? There weren't a lot of girls at the gym. So I just pretty much hit the guys,
Yeah.
bloody nose, broken. Yeah, I loved it. So it kept me going every day. Back then I was in college. So all I had was go to school, go to work, go to the gym. And I would hang out at the gym often, again, because there was a lot of sparring opportunity. My coach would say, hey, you want to get in the ring with Suzana? Yeah, sure. She's a girl. What's the matter? Oh no, 1 or 2 rounds and it was over. So I just had fun doing it. I continued that. I graduated with my bachelor's from that college, went to Texas because it was going to be an emergency teaching certification program that I was going towards. When I went to Texas, I was maybe 21, 22. I was old news in Texas. Women or people like me don't jump into boxing at that age. So I kind of got shaded or looked differently with, right? Because I was just not developing my boxing experience. Needless, I said I won the state Golden Gloves twice at that point. Um, did a couple of different local shows throughout the tri-state area, but that still wasn't enough being 21 in Texas. So I moved back north, not because of that, but I got a job offer up here. I built a boxing team very similar to what I saw my coach do. Got a personal training degree, did that, thought I was going to go to law school, decided law school was not for me. And I moved to Indianapolis. When I moved to Indianapolis, personal training was my focus. I love boxing, so I blended that in. I've had SRG boxing gym for almost 14 years now. In this gym, my two kids, my 14 and my daughter is 10, gonna be 11. We have we have built a family in the gym, not just like gym people, but my immediate family, right?
For sure.
And what keeps me going is I wasn't done. I still wanted to get a professional fight. It took me until age 39 to decide now's the time. The day I met my husband, we went on a date. I was supposed to leave to New York that following week, and it never happened. So life happens, right? Things go. I think it was when I almost lost these two fingers that I decided it's time to do pro. As soon as my fingers are good, I'm jumping in. And so that's kind of how we've gone. Now, how I developed my promotion company is a big reasoning why the professional era was necessary for me.
So yeah, your journey up through the ranks as an amateur and now, obviously going into your third pro fight. Um, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you got in a little bit late, but I mean, most of the women that I know, we didn't, and I'm sorry I keep bringing up the age thing. I just turned 44, so there's no, this is the best decades of our life, right? Best decade of our life right here. But I started at 18, going on 19, and a lot of the girls that I've spoken to already started around that same time, college age. It seems pretty normal, at least for our generation of fighters who have gotten in the fight game a little bit later. I'd like to say I don't know enough about the amateur sport world in boxing right now. That's one of the reasons we're doing this is just try to keep that spark alive. As I've mentioned before, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of opportunities, especially for little girls, to get into boxing clubs. Um, but what it can do for a person who maybe doesn't have access to team sports in high school, for all those reasons, if we're taking boxing out of the Olympics, it just cuts so many dreams away from young people wanting to get in the sport in the first place. So can you talk a little bit about, your inspiration for wanting to become a boxing promoter and a coach? And do you have aspirations to like take young people through this, generational sport that we're in?
Yeah. Um, those are like four questions. Let me chop them up. So yes, um, yes, as far as my experiences with that, I had dreams to be on the Olympic team. I went to, this is back when they used to have nationals at Colorado Springs on the Olympic training facility. I did that twice. I think that's really important to keep that in action because it changes the dynamics. Fighting in that kind of elevation made me feel like I had asthma, right? After back then we fought for 4 rounds. Now they're 3 rounds. They're 3 minutes, which kind of then we could talk about that later. But they were at that time 4 rounds, 3 minutes. And I think putting it in a position where Olympics are considering taking boxing out kind of puts people on the edge, right? Because if you work for so many years to attain that goal, and now you're almost there and you're about to be dropped, I can imagine how it might feel. At the same time, I have a feeling that a lot of individuals felt similar like that when it came to the Olympic dramas. I'm going to use the dramas of this past month.
Yeah.
Boxing, though, you had to learn how to roll with the punches. When one angle doesn't work, roll and pivot and hit it from another angle, right? Find another door. So that's my perspective on eliminating boxing. There's got to be another way. I think that they are looking for alternative options to sustain some form of Olympic boxing in that. And we'll just kind of see how that ends up coming about. I do think, though, for girls, for ladies in the boxing game, providing more opportunities is a half-ass attempt so far. I think the idea is there, but it needs the proper funding, not financial funding, but the proper backing from everybody involved. When I say that, we can turn on the TV every Friday or every Saturday when it comes to the boxing game. How many women are on those cards? And it's either 10% or 0%. So putting it into those fields helps trickle down the line, right? You can't always start at the bottom base. It also has to come from the higher and
Right.
penetrate down.
I think that's a really good point. And that's why talking to people like you, talking to Francesca, Liz, Mary McGee, people who have been in this fight game for a long time, and as women really haven't had a lot of opportunities to be the main event, to really, it's never been about the money for most of us, but to really be in it because we can actually make a productive financial career out of this. Most of us have been in this sport this long for the love of the sport.
That's true.
And I can't imagine, you were started in 2008 and Olympic boxing came in 2012. So you had a significant chunk of time there where you probably knew that it was coming to the Olympics. And I don't know if you could expand a little bit more. Did you actually try, or did you go to the Olympic trials or like what? Because I was already a pro, so that was like off of my radar. But tell me what that 4 years was like.
So I've been to national let's go back. And actually, there's another fighter out of California right now who's very vocal right now on social media in regards to the road into the Olympic opportunity door. I've been to many national tournaments, and some of them, most of them actually, I get to the finals and I'm short on one. I do know, I can guarantee and state it, I've always gone to a national tournament, at least 10 of these, with no coach. So it's not the smartest thing, but sometimes when you are confident and you believe in yourself, you're going to show up regardless. And you find who can work you and help you out in the box, right? So I've gone to these tournaments, made it to the finals, took silver. Awesome, great, but not what I wanted. The last round of my nationals, once my finger was good and I was able to do another one, I was now 39 and I chose not to, or maybe I was 38. I chose not to go into that tournament and fight because I'm also older and I want somebody else to have that opportunity. At some point, you got to know when it's time to stop chopping wood and go over and make a furniture item that you've already been chopping off already. You see what I mean?
Yeah, love
So
the metaphor.
I enjoyed it, but just because you win the Olympic trials doesn't mean you're going to be selected. There really are politics in every facet of the sport, in probably every sport.
Oh yeah.
But in this aspect, yeah, just because you win doesn't mean you're going to be pulled and granted access to the next level. You may, according to other people that I've heard, be asked to go back to the Olympic Training Center only to be a sparring partner for the people that they already have planned to represent Team USA. So those are things that people don't always talk about. Similarly to a lot of people don't talk about how much money you're going to make, even though we all do it because we love it. At the end of the day, you don't want to get played, right? Yep. What's the dollar value looking like? What should I be expecting? When do I know I'm getting played out? How much is too much to ask? How much is proper? And again, we've all been raised, don't ask about the pocketbooks. But that's the stuff that you need to open up the door or open up the book and talk about.
I think especially being mothers, I retired the first time when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, my first and only daughter, Kay. She's going on 18 now, which is crazy. But I had, a couple tragedies happen around, during her toddlerhood, not with her, but just in our family, and really went through some depression and things like that. And that was kind of my inspiration to get back in and come out of retirement. When my daughter was 18 months old was when I came back out, had my first professional fight out of retirement. And the money really didn't matter to me that much because back in college and like after college, a couple $1,000 was a nice little bonus. I was always working a full-time job. I'm sure that you have, and it was something I did. It just kept me, mentally focused. But then coming out of retirement with a toddler, you talked about politics. It really did start to become a concern for me and for my family, and starting to go up against women at a certain level who could hurt you. At some point you had to weigh the balance of, is all this training on top of a full-time job, on top of being a life partner to somebody and having a child, is this training worth the potential outcome of getting knocked out, getting a massive concussion or worse? So those were definitely things to consider. I think for a lot of us, that especially our mothers. I find it interesting listening to you talk about your experience and the length of time that you've been in this world. Being an amateur in a place and in a time and at an age in your life where you could have fought for Team USA, having to take a break because of having a child, having your children and having to get back in fight shape, if you will, deciding to become a promoter, going pro. I think it's very smart. I don't know how long you plan to take your professional career, but the first thing a lot of people are going to want to know is as a promoter, if that's where you plan to keep pushing, what's your fight experience? And you having that amateur experience with the Olympics, springing up in your era, turning pro, becoming a boxing promoter. I'm excited to see what you can do with this. I don't know. I haven't asked you any questions yet, have I? I'm just analyzing your story. Um, do you think, I guess my question would be, tell us how this boxing experience has shaped who you are today as a person, and then tell us a little bit about what you plan to do with this experience for your future.
So I think if I take it back to when my daughter was born, when my son was born, I stayed I owned the gym and I just focused on coaching people. But, once you're a fighter, you're always a fighter. That feel to get back in, right? So when my daughter was born, I took a fight 3 months later. Oh man, yeah, for
What?
real. And I lost, but we went the whole round. And um, being in your postpartum stage, shit happens, right?
Yeah.
And shit happened on that fight. But when I fought that second time, we were much closer, but I didn't get the win. And I was still happy that I progressed in that. Ever since then, my two kids are the reasons why I continue because I want them to see an example, right? I wanted to set that role model action and whatever it is that you love to do, commit to it, work on it every day. I mean, they've grown up in the gym,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So I
awesome.
wanted to be that example on what it means to do what you love and to do it every day. And even when stuff gets tough, to stay in the mix because it's going to come out to what it is that you want at the end. You just got to believe it. Now, what my goal is in my promotional endeavors here, I built this La Jefa Promotions because as a female, even with all those accolades, I would knock on the door and nobody would put me on the card. I was a girl, so I had step. Guys are on stack. When I built my promotion company, it was for the emphasis to allow women to have that opportunity to step onto that platform and not only show the world what they could do, but to show themselves what they already knew that they had within them, right? And so for me, that's always a focus is putting women on the card. It just happens to be that every time I have a show right now, I fight on the card because why not? I'm doing all the work. I do the work in the gym, I do the work at home, and I'm doing the work in the promotion company. Why not rep it out? Eventually, I'm going to get to that level where I cannot fight on my card because it is a lot of hats to juggle. I have a great committee of all women that rock out with it. Yeah, it's all women on
Really?
my team. Yes.
That's
And so
cool.
it's awesome, right? I just want to be able to continue to provide that. Right now, it's a lot of local fighters and then myself. Last time we had two women on the card. Currently, we're looking at just myself on the card. September is a busy month that a lot of people got a lot of things going on. We'll see what May 2025 provides and see if we can do half and half men, half women on the card.
So I was fortunate enough to go last weekend to the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame open house and hang out with a lot of other Indiana Boxing Hall of Famers. Some of those guys had Olympic medals around their neck walking around the event. And also talked to a lot of the people, like Keith Boggs, Fred Burns, he wasn't able to be there. Craig Holk, Dave Hyatt, a lot of the guys who have I feel like I've kind of been fortunate to grow up with. The Indiana boxing family is really pretty small, tight-knit family. Everybody knows each other, but it's an aging family. We lost George DeFabis a couple years ago, who was the president of the Indiana Golden Gloves, and Keith has kind of taken over that spot now. And I know you know a lot of these guys, and I think it's so cool to hear you talk about starting or not starting, but you're developing and growing this promotional opportunity to bring women on cards and potentially just keep boxing alive in the state of Indiana, and especially Indianapolis has a rich history of professional boxing, amateur boxing. Um, but man, you kind of came through the ranks without a coach, and you know, when you called me a couple weeks ago to do some mitt work together, and you said your coach was in Evansville and you were doing all this training, you're doing all your running, you're running a business on top of it, you're raising young children. I was like, damn, this girl has got a lot going on. And I just have a lot of admiration for you and what you're doing in so many aspects of your life. And I hope, you know, especially after having some of these conversations with these aging boxing commission people, if you will, who are afraid that the Indianapolis boxing world is going to kind of start to shrivel, that maybe I could help, you know, keep breathing life into this thing and keep it alive. Just you're a phenomenal business person. You're a smart girl, smart woman, excuse me.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with your skills in the ring. I haven't done a whole lot of boxing training in the last few years, so I think we did like 10 rounds or something with mitts, and you wore my ass out. I was like, go home and take a nap. I was impressed. We did 3-minute rounds, and conditioning is phenomenal, especially for being 40 years old. So, man, there are a couple like random questions for you. So
Yeah.
you're Mexican nationality, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
sport of boxing is, you know, historic and legendary in the country of Mexico. So what kind of inspirations do you have there as far as being a Mexican boxer?
So I'm Mexican descent, but I'm Tejana. I'm from Texas. So, most Texans are like, hey, this is it.
It used to be
Um,
the all the same country, didn't it? But yeah, I guess.
exactly, yeah. But, I'm a Mexican fighter. I like to be inside. I like to rough it up. I like to be heavy in the mix. It helps me always. Every year in my gym, we have like a theme, right? And one year we had fight for it. That was also during the time when my grandparents were not doing so well in their health. And so it reminded me no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what energy you're feeling from the outside, fight for whatever it is that you want. In my gym, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. There's a sombrero there, and then there is
Yep.
a cotton plant. And that
Oh,
reminds me
wow.
of my grandparents. That's how they lived their life, was migrant working, picking in the fields. And it was their hard work that allowed my parents then to do college and then going in for me to go in. And now this is how I use my hands every day, not picking in the fields, but rather boxing and lifting and doing the stuff that I love to do, not
Love
what I
it.
have to do.
Love it. That's very cool. They're always, yeah. I mean, do you have any boxing not would, you know, just in your family roots? Do you have any stories of or not even in your roots, but the communities where maybe your ancestors, I don't want to say ancestors like it was forever ago, but there's got to be some
Yeah, I
Mexican
get
boxing connections there.
so yeah, the first time, let me pull it back like this. When I trained in boxing for 3 months when I first started. And then I fought my first fight, which happened to be at the Indiana Golden Gloves. And
That was your
right
first
before,
fight?
yeah, that was my first fight. And the girl is 6 feet tall. It looked like a cat and a mouse. And I whooped her butt. And I won. Yes. But that was my first fight after training for 3 months. And right before I'm about to go onto stage into the ring, my dad says, don't forget, we come from this other side of the railroad tracks. I used to be a fighter when I was growing up. And, every dad says that to some degree. But I
Yep.
said this to me in all my years of life, and now you tell me now. But perhaps my dad boxed at some point. I'm not sure. I know that I do know my great great grandmother fought at the Alamo on a horse with the gun and everything.
See, I
So
knew it. I knew there was some roots there.
some of that stuff.
That's very cool. Oh man, I love it. And I saw of course, Alvarez Canelo is one of my favorite fighters, just because of the way that he fights and because of who he is. But this redheaded Mexican man, he looks more like me than he does you. I just always thought that was funny.
True, but I'll tell you this: I have a cousin who is blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin, and his name is Marcos.
That's crazy.
Marcos Ramirez, that's his name.
That's
So
crazy.
yes, it happens. Canelo was actually on Sirius Radio a couple weeks ago, and I was hitting legs. but I had to talk to him. So I dialed up the phone. I
Uh-uh.
was, I was ready, like, it was going to be my turn. And then they talked too long, so they couldn't get to me. But I also wonder if that were the case, or the fact that you had to tell them what you're going to ask before
Yeah,
they
yeah.
put you on hold.
They screen it.
Yeah, I said, I would just want to know, after, with all these fights that he does, when is he going to finally allow a female to be present on the card? And two, when is he going to open up the fight camp to women? I think those are two great, like, he's got that level now. He's already made
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Start helping it, but like, and that's something I think a lot of fighters ought to be doing. Where can
Yeah.
you help out? Even if it's on an amateur level or a fresh upcoming professional level, where can you inject your greatness?
Yeah, I'd love to see somebody like Canelo Alvarez step up into that light because he's become a phenomenal business person in the world
Yeah.
of boxing. He's very well spoken. He is very humble, which I completely admire in all fighters. He's got that presence and charisma about him that, when he decides that he's ready to retire, he's gonna continue to do great things for Mexican fighters, American fighters, hopefully women
Yeah.
and men, all of us. I aspire or I look up to people like him. Manny Pacquiao is also another one of my favorite fighters for all those same reasons. The fact that he's become senator of the Philippines. He's talking about running for president. He's a philanthropist. He puts a lot of his money back into his country. Humble. His coach has Parkinson's disease, and he's a spokesperson for that movement. So it's people like you, I love to see, use this experience and turn it into something great. And I think you're going to go really far in all of your careers, and everything that you're doing seems to be like merging into one piece of greatness for you. So you've got stories
Thank
to
you.
tell that you don't even know about yet. Um, so we only have about 5 minutes left. This is just a funny question. Jake Paul or Tyson?
Hey, I'm going Tyson all day. And age doesn't matter. You can crack those skulls with any age you are. That's it.
So, and I got it. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. Jake Paul, he's talking about being on the U.S. boxing team if they keep it for 2028. Now he's getting slammed for that. He's a professional
Let,
fighter.
let me say this for Jake Paul. Even though I do have a different, I go both which ways on it. Yeah, boxing as a boxer is a one thought behind it, but you cannot skip over the fact that it is because of his attention to Amanda Serrano that allowed Amanda Serrano and all other female fighters to start coming up. So we really can't skip that, no matter how much you want to dog his boxing skills. At
No,
the end
I
of the day, he put his money where his mouth is when it comes to female fighting. And so for that, I definitely have appreciation for him.
No, and I actually wasn't even going to go there. I have a lot of respect for Jake Paul. I have a lot of respect for Mike Tyson, and the fact that Jake has been able to do what he can do in such a short amount of time at the age that he got started is phenomenal. And for him to fight Mike Tyson, he really has nothing to lose. If he loses to Mike Tyson, even gets knocked out, it was his idea to go step in front of Mike Tyson. If he beats Mike Tyson, which I don't think he's going to, he still had nothing to lose. He stepped in the
True
ring with Mike
story.
Tyson. Um, and
But back in the day, I don't know if your coach ever told you that's a dirty fighter. Like that's the kind of fighter that you want to watch out for. A
oh
guy
yeah,
who has nothing to lose,
you
right?
know what? He's got nothing to lose. Man, if he beats Tyson, that'd be crazy. But both the Paul brothers, just genius business people. And you know what? If they keep boxing in 2028, I don't know if they're going to include professionals. I hope they keep it at an amateur level. But those are the kind of business people and influencers that we do have that I don't know could have a voice and help carry this
True.
along for men and women.
Yeah.
Um, we got about 2 minutes left. So, one final thought from you, speaking directly to the International Olympic Committee and the IBA, International Boxing Association. What do you want to say to them about the importance of keeping men's and women's boxing in the Olympics?
I think it's important to, I'll say this, we ought to keep the boxing in effect because it's an important sport for everybody. They say boxing is a poor man's sport. At the end of the day, you don't need anything except these two hands and a little bit of something to throw in. Other sports require much more financial upkeeping to that sport, right? But I would request that all rules are the same across the board and across the countries, no differences. Because many people, like myself, coming up in the amateur field, we understood one set of rules. Then we went to the nationals and the rules were different. And
Yeah.
then for those who went internationally, those were another set of rules. So I think everything needs to be continuous from every level across the board. And at the end of the day, why pull something that's been great? It just needed revamping on its structure.
Yeah. And the rules change again, as you know, now when you go up to the professional ranks. So,
Yeah.
100% important. I hope they get, we've talked about the world, this organization called World Boxing, who's now getting involved. The decision hasn't been made yet, but I love what you said about it's a poor man's sport. You really only have to have these two things to be a competitor in something up here. And to take that dream away from kids would be devastating. So, um, Suzana, thank you so much for doing this. She's been walking on her treadmill the whole time, burning calories, and I'm sure she's about to go do training or teach a class. This girl never stops. So thank you. Your perspective, it was very important. And I can't wait to see what you do with the next chapter of your boxing career, but then as a promoter, trainer, business owner, mother, you're doing great things in this world.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, girl, keep your hands up.
Bye. Thank you.